Today we have a special guest, the next episode from V-Stock World Headquarters. I'm pleased to welcome my good friend Jonah Meer, who's the CEO and founder of QRONS Inc., publicly traded under the ticker symbol QRON. Welcome.
Thank you, Seth, for having me.
So your company is pretty interesting to me, and I really want to try to get a better understanding, and I think anybody who's watching has seen some of your press or seen some of your LinkedIn posts. QRONS is a company that's focused on a couple different levels, all within the TBI industry. If you could just elaborate on that.
We're a preclinical biotech company with a singular focus on TBI, traumatic brain injury. Traumatic brain injury, for those who don't know, in 2010 the CDC said it was a $76 billion problem. We think it's grossly understated. But in short, there's 50,000 people in the US die from it. There's about 250,000 people hospitalized.
Really?
And there's over 2 million emergency room visits.
When I think of TBI, or whatever that term, brain injury as a whole, you always think of the football industry. You're saying it's a lot.
It's a lot bigger, and TBI is the traumatic part, which means a penetrating brain injury. Think about car accidents, think about shootings, think about in the military. Even if you take recently the unfortunate tragedy that happened on the Southwest airline plane, that person, she died of a TBI. She had, besides traumatic to the body, but it was a traumatic brain injury.
You guys are focusing on analysis, on cure.
So right now there's
detection.
no treatment for TBI. God forbid you wind up in the hospital with a gunshot wound, you fall off your motorcycle, elderly people fall, they take you to the hospital, and you have either a penetrating injury or a dramatic shaking of the brain, and they take you to the hospital. If they open you up, all they can do really is clean you up. If there's shrapnel, they'll take out the shrapnel. If they close you, they'll send you to a rehab center. But the problem is the brain, without being scientific, it's basically a neuronal network. And when you have a TBI, the neuronal network in the brain is broken and it doesn't heal. So the neurons die. Think about, as contrast, when you get a wound, let's say you cut yourself, you put a Band-Aid on, it heals. After it heals, you're back to the way you are. In the brain, it doesn't work that way. So what we're trying to solve in the brain is two things. One is the neurons are degenerating, so we have to halt the degeneration, the damage. So one, halt it, because that's key. But two, the holy grail would be neuronal regeneration, where you actually have the neurons growing back to restore functioning capability.
Is there such a thing? Does that exist?
Does not exist.
Okay.
Does not exist. Problem is when the neurons break, you will get lost depending where in the brain the injury occurs. And people understand this. You'll get loss of motor functions. You may get loss of vision. And the typical things you've seen. Everybody follows it in sports because of concussions,
right,
which is a secondary form of TBI. And also, when you get a TBI, studies, the surveys show, as you get older, to develop neurodegenerative diseases, which is Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, etc. So right now, there is no treatment. There is no cure. What QRONS is looking for is to find a treatment.